where broken hearts can heal. Compelling content, authentic testimonies, Spirit-led programming for all to see. Whether you're scrolling at midnight or sharing worship in the morning light, we're there with hope, building community, transforming lives for all eternity. KPTV Network, where faith meets the frontier.
The topic of the profound issue that many of us face, the fear that holds us back from just stepping into that.
Welcome to Kingdom Promoters TV Network. My name is Fatike Samuel. Welcome to another episode here today on the show. I just want to take this time to thank you all that tune in and watch our programs, and for some of you that comment and share, God bless you. Today I have a sister in Christ here who she and I had a little discussion a couple of months back, and that discussion really left me hungry to just bring her on here to discuss about just the little things in our work in Christianity that some of us as Christians normally don't realize that needs to be done for us to be sanctified, for us to be able to be set apart and really enjoy the full meaning of God's grace and salvation. With no further delay, I'm going to introduce my guest on the show today.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and I'm so excited to be here. And I am just thrilled to do this. I currently live in Arkansas. We go to church with Fati, and I have been following and believing in Jesus since I was 6 years old, so like 25 years now, which is crazy. But the story just keeps getting better, and so I'm excited to share part of it.
Well, Miss Rebecca, thank you so much for coming here on KPTV Network. I am so glad. There is a reason why I really wanted you to be on here for us to have this discussion, because like you and I went back and forth yesterday in terms of just sometimes the things that for us as Christians that really bring a lot of misconception and misunderstanding in terms of our salvation. And when someone give their life to Christ and say the sinner's prayer, and for some Christians, you just feel like that's it. I'm saved. Things should be working out now, and I'm on my way. Everything that used to go wrong should be going right. But in actuality, there is other things that also come along with just saying, Jesus, I invite you into my life. So today we're going to discuss about those things. You mentioned that you grew up in the church, and you share what your relationship with God was like during those early years and what faith meant to you. Can you give us a little bit of understanding as of from the time you gave your life to Christ at the age of 6 to where you are now?
So I've had to do this, like share brief parts of my testimony recently, just in practice. And I think I tell my testimony different now than I ever would have, because when I was 6 years old, I was probably the embodiment of childlike faith. Like I looked out my window, like I very vividly remember looking at the stars and looking out the window, and I just knew I needed Jesus. Like I knew that, and I wanted him to be a part of everything that I did. I went and had conversations with my parents, and they walked me through what that actually meant. They wanted to make sure that I was actually sure and not just going through some sort of motions. We were super involved in church. My mom led in worship. My dad served really well as well. I thought I kind of had a boring testimony for a long time, actually, because I didn't feel like I was saved from anything. I knew I needed Jesus, and I believed and I agreed, and I got to see him do really cool things in my life, but I didn't have that he saved me from the pit of hell kind of ever feeling, which for a long time kept me from sharing testimony, because I didn't feel like I equaled up to someone that had felt really saved. I just felt a part of the family, and this is what I wanted to do, and this was the life I knew. And so that kind of shifted. Obviously, as we get older, we experience a little bit more of life and different things. There hit a point that I thought love really had to be earned and really worked for. There were different things going on in my family that it made just unconditional love feel harder to believe in. I very much so understood the guidelines that the Bible laid out and that Christ laid out for us. It was just the grace that I wasn't grasping for myself anymore. So I had to walk through a season. I don't know if I forgot or just didn't remember or didn't believe anymore what God said about me. I never doubted he was there. I just doubted that he cared that I was, maybe. But because God is faithful, and that because Philippians 1:6 is true, that he who starts a good work in you is faithful to complete it. And because he pursues his kids, it was in walking through that season that I kind of felt alone, that I'd never doubted my salvation. I just wasn't walking in like that heaven on earth that we're promised, that he met me there and like really shook my life up again and was like, okay, let's follow more closely and let's lean in, because I have so much more for you.
You mentioned something very profound when you talk about grace was not understood.
Yeah.
So sometimes you kind of feel like I have to do more.
Yeah.
I have to be perfect. I have to feel this way. There's a lot of times we feel like as Christians, it's all about feeling. And sometimes, like you say in your testimony, you feel like you were not comfortable to share your testimony because you feel like you don't have the shebang.
Right.
Story.
It's not exciting. Nobody wants to hear it.
Like I remember I shared my story at the women's conference once about, surviving genocide and all that. And people will listen to that testimony like, oh my God.
Right.
But the thing is, you don't always have to have a mind-blowing testimony.
Yeah.
Do you know that the fact that we are saved and we gave our life to Christ is a testimony?
Yeah.
It is a testimony.
Yeah.
So at what point in your life did you come to understand that the grace of God is made available to me? It's not by works. And when did you fully grasp the whole idea, like coming back full circle to just feel like and rest in just what God has already done for you?
Right. So perfectionism was a big thing. It's still something that I actively fight. I have really great parents that loved me a lot. They unfortunately didn't get to stay together, so our family wasn't a nuclear thing anymore.
Yeah.
But they were also professionals in their field, in education and in law enforcement. So just naturally, the standard in our home was not only are we believers, but my mom is the principal. Like I have to act a certain way, or my dad was a state trooper. Like there was just even if it was unspoken, there was an expectation that I took on that perfection was required. And like there is no room to mess up. It kind of battles a little bit of grace, right? And so if I think I have to be perfect, and if I falter somewhere, I've messed up. So I understood that Jesus like loved and died for everyone and would do it again and again. But if I believed in him, I should be walking the straight and narrow that I just made a little probably straighter and more narrow than I really actually had to.
Yeah.
And just believed that I had to, it wasn't like pursuing a life after Christ. It was try to be as close to Jesus as possible, which created this perfection that I just couldn't hold up to, then just kind of fell apart in. Some of that really started when I was 20 years old. I developed a porn addiction. And so there I am, like in my room, knowing that I'm hating what I'm doing.
Yeah. The conviction was there.
The conviction was there.
Yeah.
I was hating what I was doing, but I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
There was something in me that just fought it. And I got to share actually earlier this year, and like, because God is like guiding and showing all of these things.
Yeah.
But there was a season that to me that felt like freedom. And because there's a lot of pressure that I put around my body and just different things that it was like to be kept holy for a husband, or like it would be a victim of crime, just because that was kind of the world that I lived in. My body wasn't ever mine. So the enemy's good at his job, and porn felt like freedom for me, because it felt like a chance for me to learn about my body that everybody else said belonged to them somehow, that wasn't actually mine. So, but like the conviction was there, and I hated myself through it. And so that's where like you learn that the freedom that the enemy offers is really just chains that you put on yourself, and they just begin to weigh you down. And so there's just this season of life that I walked through that I felt very hypocritical. Like I felt like I was missing the boat, because I knew that what I was doing wasn't delighting in the Lord.
And you were still in church.
Becoming less and less in church.
Right.
Because I would go to the life group if I was invited. But like K-Love Radio really was like my church for a long time, because that's the only
station,
that's the only place I felt safe-ish.
Yeah.
Because I could walk into churches and I felt like the hypocrite I hated. Yeah, I felt like shame just attacked me. Like I get a very like visceral reaction that I was sick. And it was just the shame just overwhelmed me. I would go to like the pop-off conference that was here, and then I'd have this like, Jesus, get your life together. But then I'd fall back into like what I was doing. So it was really this like 7-year time frame of like going in and out of really, Jesus, do you actually love me? And like, do I love me? Because if I don't love me and I don't forgive me, how do I think that you can? What's been cool is because anytime I would have told this story before, I'd have thought like I wasn't in church at all, like those 7 years. But I have journals that like every year that there's some, like I'm in a church sermon or there's something. And so it was, I still like felt pursued by God of like, hey, you need to go up and go to church today. And like, even if it was started with going with just as hopefully a boy was there that I was going to meet, that was never there. He was never there. But God was.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, even in like the classroom that I taught in, there were kids that just spoke so boldly in their faith that like kept me awake enough to like, let's figure out this problem. Like, what's this actually coming to? My like tipping point, I guess, or like the big where I met grace. Because I like to say that like I met Jesus at 6 years old, but like I fully understood like the magnitude of grace, or at least like understand, was at 20s. And I had walked through so much pain, like the shame and like what shame and guilt and grief does to your body.
It's ridiculous.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And I was in so much physical pain that I would have done anything to fix it, because not only is it shame, it's like secret shame. When we think of addicts or when we think of people with like problems that are bad, obviously there's usually something about them that they wear that like on their sleeve that like I can,
it becomes their identity.
Right, it becomes their identity, and sometimes it's visible. A porn addiction isn't often visible to anybody.
No,
at all. Nobody has to know.
Yeah,
like at all. And so I just was like the secret shame that I was talking about, like physically was like destroying my body. And I'm not a huge fan of like being touched. Like I think massages are weird, but I was in so much pain that I would have done anything to fix it. And so I went to get a massage, and I remember laying there and they were like getting the knots out, and I was like, it was excruciating because I was just so tense that like him working it out hurt, because like when you live with like knots in your shoulders to your ears. And so he was working that out, and I was like, Becca, this is the only way like you feel better. Like you got to let him hurt you a little bit, because it's the only way you feel better at the end of it. God got my attention in that room. I like vividly remember being like, Becca, it is more than your body that is broken. It is your soul that is broken, and healing is painful. This is going to hurt. But if you would just let go and give it over to me and surrender, I am Jehovah Rapha, healer. I will heal you, and we will see this to the other side. But you have to let me do my job. And like got my attention in such a way that like I physically was feeling what it felt like to get some amount of relief, but it hurt because of all of the pain that I'd stored up, that the working the knots out is so painful. But it was like, it was believe in who I say I am, let me do my job, and I'll see you through the other side. And it was that day, like that very day, I walked out just like I felt like I could breathe again. Like I felt like I could like live like life and like relax a little bit and just like trust that God is who he says he is. And I was going to give it a go because nothing else was working. Had my Bible open, had been to church, even like trying this real pursuit, but I hadn't actually done the let go and surrender part.
Right.
It's that surrender part that we have to do,
like dying to
daily.
That
dying to self. I have still, addiction's hard, and like you have to go from that, and there's pitfalls and like hiccups, but that was the last day that I had visually watched porn, and I'd like have to go back on my calendar to remember when it was scheduled, because it just stopped. Like it just stopped. Like the desire was gone. And so it was then I like walked through this season of like I got to know Jesus, and I got to know him as like a comforter and a healer and a protector and a friend, but like a mighty king, both like of just like, I really do care about you, and I really do love you, and you have been listening to lies for years. We need to rewrite. And so it was a year of that again, he shook me up again, because that's what he does. And it was like, okay, I've been doing this alone. Now I need to go find my people. And so that was, I started going to church like intentionally and actively with the point of like finding community and being with a body of believers about a year after that. But it's been a pursuit of just surrender. And like that sanctification that you mentioned at the beginning is I had to go through a lot of, because for a long time, even like I'm back in church, was all of this fake. Like I had to address some of those lies too. Was I really just lying to myself for this amount of time? Because God is kind and he is faithful. He let me feel bad, and then it was like, okay, no, like you were. Like, I have been real to you from the beginning.
Yeah.
Now you're just going to realize how much you've mattered to me. And guess what? It was never about you in the first place, because that love I thought I had to earn, I realized was just given to me.
Yeah.
That illustration in the Bible where it talks about Peter and John running to Jesus after he is risen. And then it says that John beat him to Jesus because John knew that Jesus loved him. And that we often see Peter trying to prove his love for God or for Jesus, right? And that understanding that John was able to get there first because it wasn't about how much he loved Jesus. It was about how much he knew Jesus loved him. And so that just shift of like, I don't have to earn this, and I can just let him love me, and then he'll teach me how to love myself, or like how to feel like I belong in the kingdom again. So
wow, when you're sharing this, like there's so many scriptures going through, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but like once you started explaining from the moment you started about the addiction, when it started, and you know you were convicted of what was happening, but you just couldn't stop. That's what Apostle Paul was talking about. That the flesh, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Isn't it?
Yes.
And you know within you, like, God, I know what I'm doing, but please, you know, it like I'm not going to lie. Sin feels good.
Oh yeah,
and that's
it doesn't think you don't think it's sin to begin with. well, sometimes. I mean, I knew.
Sometimes you know. It's just like, okay, let's say for example, food addiction. You struggle with it,
right?
You know, and you are literally waking up in the morning, all you think about is food. You go to bed at night is food. So there has to be the same way we use that self-control to restrain ourselves from going to that fridge and get food. I wish sometimes as Christians, that's the way we can just have that self-control, because it all boils down to self-control.
Oh, yes.
And then also just dying to self. Submitting daily, you know, and the enemy makes us feel like what you're doing, the temptation that is been presented to you, it's no big deal.
Right.
And then when we step in, we realize, oh,
it's heavy.
It's heavy.
I remember like praying during it, like, and they weren't good prayers by any means. It was like, God, make me skinny and I'll stop. Like, it was just like, how do I love, like, fix this and I'll do this. It was very,
there's always a condition.
It was very conditional.
Yeah.
And I realized like after, you know, that like I just wanted him to fix my flesh again. You know, like my spirit is what needed fixing. So,
and
like,
your soul,
my soul needed the fixing. My mind needed, but I was just like, fix my flesh, and my flesh will fix. They weren't great.
Yeah.
But there was desperation there, but there was never like, I never made the decision to like, that my sin mourned me as much as it grieved God. Like, it never bothered me. Like, I didn't like that I was doing it because I felt like I was letting him down. But it just went back to like a disappointing a parental thing again.
Yeah.
But it was never like there wasn't the discipline or the self-control to like know how it was killing me. Like, I just thought it was making me feel bad.
I believe that in that moment, the reason why most of the time when we are walking in sin or in the flesh, we refuse to come to the Lord fully, because that shame, that guilt.
Yes.
Because like you have the conviction, but then you're just asking yourself, why can't I stop?
Yeah.
And okay, tomorrow I'll do better. And then tomorrow comes, the temptation comes. And then you feel like, I can't come to God like this. I feel dirty, because the Bible said righteousness is like a filthy rag before the Lord. So it all boils down to, again, fully devoting yourself and dying to self. I don't know if it was that season in your life that you're sharing, that when you and I met, when you first came to my life group, was that season?
It was like 2 years after.
After that. Really?
Yeah. It started when I was 20, and like in college, had moved to Little Rock and been in Little Rock for a little bit. And then that's where I had the like grace encounter, like truly understood the grace. And then it was that year, and then it was like dove headfirst into like finding a body of believers. But so I think we met probably a year and a half after all of that.
Because I can vividly remember like the Rebecca that I met and the Rebecca now. There are times I stop you in the foyer in church and be like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, man.
Is that the same Rebecca?
Hopefully this is good.
Because like the transformation, when you first came, it was what the Rebecca that I met initially was just like, head down.
I wish that like, you know, sanctification is a one done thing, but it's not.
It's not. It's a constant work.
Because God is kind. He doesn't just heal all your things at one time.
Absolutely.
Because then you'd have to deal with them all at one time.
Apostle Paul said, I asked the Lord 3 times to take away the thorn in my flesh.
And it's still there.
He said, nope, my grace is sufficient for you.
Right. And so when I started going back to church, there was some of that like self-righteousness and legalism that I had to face again, because I signed up for like every life group, because it meant at least I was opening my Bible when I showed up to life groups, because discipline was hard for me.
Yeah.
I knew it was important, but the follow through just wasn't always there. And so I knew if I was surrounding myself or putting myself into places, that I was surrounding myself with people that believed that and that would encourage me to dig deeper into it. One of the hardest prayers I prayed was like, God, prove me wrong. Because I thought I lacked like all discipline. I thought I lacked all follow. Like I just was like, I can't do this thing.
Yeah.
I just prayed, God, prove me wrong. And it was like a whispered prayer, and then like went through that and like did a 7-week study, like daily, like got to dig deeper in and realize that the discipline is there. Like I have ability to do it.
Yeah.
I just have to
discipline the flesh.
Care.
Yeah.
Like, and like realize why, like fight the flesh to do it.
Yeah.
I think what's so interesting about when we first met is that was probably like, you honestly, when you met me, was probably the best I've felt in years.
Really?
Yeah. Like, just like the more open, but it was still navigating like this new home. But also when we met, in that life group, there was a season of bitterness I was walking into because, I'm so grateful for the church. But the enemy finds you in church too.
The enemy's there.
He's there.
It comes every Sunday.
And so some of my wrestling with God in that like 7-year season when I wasn't actively in church was just wrestling a lot of like some of religious laws or legalism that I was in, or how I just saw the lower C church not show up the way that I was taught they should have shown up. Or that I would walk in and like people that do not love God, do not believe in God, treat other people better.
They love on you better.
They love on you better than some of the people inside the house. And so I was actively having to face this of like, no, I know this is where I'm supposed to be. I know this is good for me, but now I have to get over whatever this blockage is that's made me angry at the church. Because I know some people leave church from like church hurt. Mine was 100% shame. It was lies that I believed about myself. It was condemnation of myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't something was said from a pulpit and I'm like, peace out. I'm done. You've hurt me.
Yeah.
It was lies about myself. It was 100% a shame-based thing. But it was coming back into church and like having lived these 7 years, more or less in the world of things, mainly just in my bed asleep and depressed, but it didn't feel like people were loving each other right. It didn't feel like humanity inside the church as there is outside. And there is.
Yeah.
And it's realizing I had somebody ask me and like made me choke on the bitterness I was chewing on when she asked me why I had grace for the people, more grace for the people outside of the church than I did for the inside of it. And I had to face this same thing that I put myself through of, you're supposed to be believing this thing. You're supposed to be acting it. Like, why can't you get it together? And so walking through this of like, we are broken.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
We are broken.
Yeah.
But the difference is we believe our healer heals.
Yeah.
Or, and it's been I've really only been back in church for 3 years, which is crazy.
And there's been so much growth.
It's been so many wild things. But it's realizing that it's a hospital, but it's also a training ground for battle.
Yeah.
And you might walk in like a victim and like poor pitiful me and just be nice to me and love on me and fix my wounds.
Yeah.
But like we're expected to leave and go find other people to bring them in to fix their wounds. And that we have a spiritual battle that like at some point it has to go from victim to victor. I'm on the winning team.
Yeah.
And yes, humanity kind of sucks, but like this is battlefield. Yeah. And so like it's not going to be all kind. And like I saw something that it was like if all Jesus does is hugs you, you might not know Jesus. But like I got my toe stepped on a lot of like, nope, be nice.
Yeah.
Nope, fix it. Like that sanctification of that like of just pursuing more of that Christ-likeness that isn't, I'm not trying to be Christ to people.
No.
Because I can't.
You can't carry their cross either.
I can't.
Because then you're taking the place of Jesus in their life.
And for a long time I tried to. I tried to be this like, I'm the Savior. I can fix it. That I was like, oh, that's not my job. It's been really cool. Just this ebbing and flowing of like letting go of lies that I believed in for a really long time.
You said something that when you came in the church, you were expecting to be treated better than the world treats you.
Yeah.
And it's rather unfortunate that we're experiencing a lot of that in the church. But however, like you said, Jesus said, I did not come for the ones who are healed, but those who are sick. And the church is a hospital.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to meet people who are also coming in broken. You're going to meet pastors who are also broken. They're also human.
Yeah.
I remember when you and I crossed paths, I can tell, even when you came to my life group, because you were not really like open.
Yeah.
And I was just always see you sitting there, but you were so constantly coming.
Yeah.
And even the days like you don't come, I'm texting, where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you not? Because I knew there was some heaviness in there.
Yeah.
You know, but at that moment, I feel like sometimes, apart from hugging people,
Right.
apart from preaching to people,
Right.
it's just the unspoken part of care
Right.
that you show.
Yeah.
Just checking, how are you today?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see you in the live group. It's not about numbers. Letting them know I see you.
And I notice when you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know your presence is not, your presence means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That season, also, I think that we met, my thyroid was actively failing. And so I'd found out, which, because God is cool, I started going back to church in August, and in February I found out my thyroid was failing. And so my mom's back in church with me and like all this stuff, and I have now this support system of people that'll pray with me. Was at a worship night the week before I found out my thyroid was failing, that somebody prayed over my throat and over my thyroid. And so just watching the provision. But like that year was also really hard because my body wasn't working the way it was supposed to work. And so I was going in and out of medicine, not working, and trying new medicine and like quitting a job. And so it was one of those, I 100% knew I was where I was supposed to be, but I lacked all energy. So I really spiritually felt a lot better than I had in a long time. But the energy just wasn't in my body to do more than show up. Showing up was something I knew I needed to do, something I wanted to do. I'm also kind of just a quieter person until you like read the room and and then you just
get to feel comfortable.
But it was also just a season that I was really, really sick. So it was navigating truly a physical and a different type of healing that I was having to walk through. And like medicine is weird. And
just knowing that your body has been through 7 years of pain, you know, and trauma from all this that is happening. When the enemy had you in captivity and then you wake up one morning and be like, you know what? I'm going to set myself free today. You think he's going to let you go? So like just stepping into in the church arena or stepping in a room full of people who are also pursuing Christ. Even in their brokenness. They're still pursuing salvation, still pursuing peace, pursuing deliverance from the bondage of the world and the enemy. He's not going to sit down and watch you be like, oh, I am so proud of you. Look at you go.
He's not.
So he's going to set people against you. He's going to set the very people that are meant to help you to hurt you.
And like just talking about like the enemy coming in like boom, like to kill any, and destroy, you know. I had this, you know, big transformation that happened in June where I was like, Jesus, like set me free. So I attended a conference at New Life before I was even attending as a member. I went to conference, and there was this stirring that just kept happening, like that was in my like soul. And there was Revelation 3:20 of here I am, I stand at the door and knock. Anyone who opens the door, I'll come in. And the whole conference theme was like waiting on the Lord. And it was like God was like, I'm actually waiting on you. Like, go open the door. And I realized that like that verse I had, like, it just came to me. It wasn't at all part of the conference. It just like, you know, was highlighted in my spirit. And I learned then that I didn't know that was written to believers. Like that was written to the church that had went lukewarm, that had kind of welcomed God in big and then shut the door and said, we got it from here. And I realized that like, oh, that's what I've done. And so I had this big, learning that half of the New Testament is for believers and telling them to get their act together is great. Like it's encouraging. But I left that moment and I was driving home on this huge like revelation, like high of just like, I feel like where I'm supposed to be. And the enemy got me again. And like, I have a pretty close connection to suicide and just different things of whether like having that ideation myself or very close friends in my family or just different things. The enemy made me think that I was either the healer or the like causer of suicide. I don't know why. But he was like, that woman that you sat beside is going to kill herself because you didn't say hi to her. Like that was the attack. And I had the moment that I was just like, enough is enough. Rebuking this like evil that just like just stuck to me, and like ended up going like the next day of conference and went back and like ended up getting baptized as like an adult because I was like, I need to claim this full freedom that I have had, because I'm not messing with this idea anymore that I'm not good enough or that this is my fault or that anything like that, because he does. The enemy knows where to like swoop in and he finds the cracks. And he's like, you're still weak here. Let's dig at it. And you mentioned the John 10:10. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
Yeah.
And I think this is the conversation that we had a few months ago.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to go to Cuba. And
that was going to be my next question. Like, where are you now?
Yeah. And so I had the opportunity to go to Cuba and I got to pray with someone. And there's this language barrier because I don't speak Spanish very well. We're learning, but you know, I'm not fluent. But the Holy Spirit, man, is like the ultimate interpreter. And I just sat beside somebody and I just knew suicide was the thing that was over them. I couldn't tell you how I knew it. I just knew it. And prayed with her in freedom of just releasing these chains and this bondage of suicidal ideation and everything like that. I come home and I feel awful. Like I've just done the coolest thing that I love to do. Like it's my happy place. And I feel miserable. Life sucks. Like everything is awful.
Was that the time you came with the bite on your leg or the infection?
Oh, that was after.
Okay. Yeah, the second.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
But everything was awful. Like the world sucked. I repeatedly said that I don't want to participate in life anymore in my head. Like I just repeatedly, and I was like, what is going on with me? Like I haven't felt this way in a really long time. I said it out loud. And when I said it out loud, I realized how serious I was. And I hated that. Like I hated how serious I was. And so I ran a little thought experiment because that's what I do. And I was like, if I were to wake up in heaven tomorrow, how do I think I'd be greeted? And I didn't think I'd hear, well done, good and faithful servant. I thought I would hear, welcome home, daughter. I'm so glad you're here. But why'd you give up so soon? And it was in that moment that like, you just kind of felt like Jesus hugged you and just comforted you and then like set you back where you needed to be. And that's where I remembered the steal, kill, and destroy. Yeah. I have come to give you life and life abundant. And so this last year has just been, sometimes abundant means like feeling emotions that I'm not used to feeling. And I have to feel them because I would much rather feel abundance and feel life and joy and like all than be apathetic, because I tried that and it was miserable. And so just leaning in to like, all right, if you came to give me life and life abundant, I'm not going to let him steal it.
So with all that you've experienced and where you were then to where you are now, you are now literally feeling the pull and drawn into missions. You've been to Cuba, what, 3 times now?
So I have been to Cuba 1, 2, 3.
So we're still counting.
Yeah, we're still counting. This year alone, like by the end of this year, I'll be out of the country for 37 days. So 10% of my year.
So now,
by the end of the year,
you were this woman that used to be in bondage.
Yeah.
From the enemy. Yeah. And God brought you out, placed you in a ministry, where you are being taught, sanctified, whether being taught by someone or by the Holy Spirit or by problems that you're encountering, but you are evolving, you are being sanctified, you are being trained, renewed. The mind is being renewed daily, dying to self. And to a woman now that is walking fully into missions ministry, going to different countries and not only going there, but speaking to women who are also experiencing the life, like the bondage of the enemy. So that is just incredible, Rebecca. I just want to really ask you to encourage other people who may have grown up in church, but surely do not know Christ like you have experienced personally. And what advice or encouragement would you give someone that is watching you right now who have experienced or still experiencing all these things that you just shared?
Yeah, so what I would say is this, is we mentioned missions. I knew I was called into missions when I was in 7th grade. And I got the opportunity to do that. And then I thought I missed the boat. I thought that my shame got attached to me, my guilt got attached to me, and I thought God didn't want to use me anymore. And then he kept showing up and he kept pursuing. And so what I would say is like, lean in. Galatians says that we've been freed for freedom's sake. Hebrews says to cast off all of those things that are weighing you down and just pursue Jesus, because he who started a good work in you is faithful to complete it. And so there's no way that we can mess up enough in the middle that he's not going to continue to be sovereign, that he's not going to continue to be faithful, and that he's not going to continue to be kind, because he cares for his people and he wants us to be a part of the work that he is doing, and he is faithful to fulfill his promises. And so I would just say, lean in to those promises that you were built on and wrestle with God, and he'll walk you through it. And it's the hardest thing you'll do, but it's the best. It really is.
Well, thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Rebecca. And I really pray that this message and testimony and story that Rebecca shared will be a blessing to someone. We're so honored to have you here. Thank you, my friend.
Thank
you
you
for coming.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
So thank you all for watching, and I hope you share this message to those who need it. And I pray that some of you who are experiencing the similar situation that Rebecca has been brought out of, that the Lord will reach out to you and surround you with believers that can train you, nurture you, pray for you, and just mentor you and be able to step fully into your calling and purpose. Until next time, you're watching KPTV Network. Have a wonderful day.